This is a practice flow rate, IV flow rate sheet for Math 109, Health. I want to work out a few of these problems with you to make sure you're feeling comfortable doing the flow rate practice. So our directions say to calculate the total infusion time for each of the following. Time's a little bit odd. It's not as easy as the other flow rate problems that are explained in the PowerPoint and the videos. But if you just stick to matching up your units, you should have no problem solving each one. So we start with, we are given 500 milliliters and the flow rate is 83 milliliters per hour. And we want to know the total infusion time. So how long is it going to take to infuse the 500 milliliters into somebody if they're getting 83 milliliters each hour? Now, to some of you, that makes sense, but why not just divide it? And that you would be exactly right. You would take 500 divided by 83 and you'd have your answer. But if you want one method that always works so that you're less confused, start with what you're given, which is the 500 milliliters, and put it over 1, and then multiply it by, remember, dimensional analysis, put your milliliters on the bottom of the denominator, and here will go your hours. So we have 83 milliliters per 1 hour. Notice our milliliters cross out and we're left with a unit of hour, which is what we were looking for, the total infusion time. So if you multiply across, you get 500 hours divided by 83, which equals 6.024 hours, and you always round to the nearest whole, which is 6 hours. So it's going to take, not always, but it's going to take 6 hours for this amount, 500 milliliters, to be infused at 83 milliliters per hour. Okay, and the only reason we're not working out the minutes is because 0.024 will give you nothing, so you just leave it at 6 hours. Look at number 2. We have 1,500 milliliters at a flow rate of 60 milliliters per hour. So we have 1,500 milliliters over 1 times, milliliters has to go down here, and your hours here. So we have 60 milliliters per 1 hour. Milliliters cancel out, and you're left with 1,500 over 60 hours, which comes out exactly to 25 hours. Yay! So it'll take 25 hours for 1,500 milliliters to be infused if it's going at a rate of 60 milliliters per hour. Number 3, 450 milliliters. So we take 450 milliliters over 1 times milliliters and hours. So we have 33 milliliters per 1 hour. Milliliters cancel, and we get 450 divided by 33 hours, which equals 13.6363, and you round that hours, so we would get 13.64 hours. And now we want to change we want to find out how many minutes that is. So you take your 0.64, this part, and you multiply it by 60, and you're going to get 38.4, which is 38 minutes. So our answer is 13 hours and 38 minutes. And that is how we find your minutes. Okay, let's go to another one here. Number 4, the order is 800 milliliters, Ringer's lactate at 83 milliliters per hour. The IV starts at 1200. At what time will the infusion be complete? Give your answer in military time. I don't think I give my answer in military time. Let's see here. Let's start this problem. So we have 800 milliliters over 1 times, milliliters has to go in the denominator, hours here, so we have 83 milliliters per 1 hour. Milliliters cancel, and you get 800 over 83 hours, which is 9.63855 hours, which is, let's round up our 63855, so we would have 9 point, whoa, sorry about that. Let's find our problem again. 9 0.64 hours. So if we take our 0.64 times 60, we should get 38.31 or somewhere close to that. I don't have that exact amount. Let's see here, 0.64 times 60 will equal 38.4. So let's make that a 0.4. So then we have to take our answer. So that's our minutes, sorry. So we have 9 hours and 38 minutes. How would we write that in military time? Well, if the IV started at midnight, which doesn't really, well, 1200 would be at midnight. So we're going to go with what? 0938. Okay. 9 hours and 38 minutes from midnight would be 9 o'clock in the morning, 9:38 in the morning. That's just a review for your military time, for your finals. For your final. Okay, so here we go. Let's try another problem here. We have calculate the total volume to be infused. Now we're finding volume to be infused. Notice we're finding something different with each section. That's why I wanted to do this worksheet with you. So again, stick with the same procedure. Start with what you're given first and put it over 1. So we have 12 hours over 1, and we're going to multiply it by hours has to go here, so milliliters goes here. So we have 83 milliliters per 1 hour. Cross out your hours. 12 times 83 is 996 milliliters. That's the total volume to be infused. Okay, if it's going at 83 milliliters per hour and it's going to be done in 12 hours, you would have to have 996 milliliters. Number 6, 2.5 hours. So I'm going to write that as 2.5 hours over 1 times, and again, match your units. Hours, milliliters. So we have 75 milliliters per 1 hour. Hours cancel. 2.5 times 75 is 187.5 milliliters. So in this case, we're finding volume. Let's try number 7. Eight hours at a flow rate of 125 milliliters per hour. 8 hours over 1 times hours here, milliliters here, 125 over 1, and we end up with 8 times 125 equals 1,000 milliliters. So it would take 8 hours for 1,000 milliliters to be infused in somebody if it's going in at 125 milliliters per hour. Okay, number 8. The patient will receive an IV therapy that runs 83 milliliters per hour for 1 day. What is the total volume to be infused? The patient will receive an IV therapy that runs 83 milliliters per hour for 1 day. What is the total volume to be infused? Let's come back to that one. I do actually have the answer for you. Your answer is 1,192 is your volume. Ooh, that looks like a dollar sign, doesn't it? Let's come back to that. Oh, jeez, these little things are interesting. That would be, total volume would have to be milliliters. Okay, for some reason I don't have that one done, so I'm going to have to either come back to it or skip it, one of the two. Okay, let's look at these real quick because I want to get through some of these on the video. I only have 4 minutes left. This is called recalculating the flow rate. So you start off, you go into your patient's room, the doctor gave you an order, you fill the IV, you get it all ready, and you set it up to be infused into the person. The problem is sometimes it changes over time. So you can't just let it go and go see the patient again in 12 hours and say, hey, how you doing? You have to check in on them every few hours or hour, and you have to, probably more than that, you have to check the flow rate of the IV and make sure that it's on track to finish when it's supposed to, not too fast and not too slow. Well, what happens is it changes. So you have to reset it. That's called recalculating it. And it's really not too bad of a problem. You start with calculating your initial flow rate. So your order says right here, you have 1,250 milliliters to infuse, and you're infusing it in 12 hours. So that's actually, let me erase this. Oh my goodness. And remember, when we calculate flow rate, okay, you take volume. Flow rate is always equal to volume over time in hours. This should be in milliliters. That's how you do flow rate. That's one thing you have to memorize. If you get that, you're pretty good. So we have 1,250 milliliters over 12 hours. So if we divide that, we end up with 104.1616 milliliters per hour, rounded to the nearest whole, and you get 104 milliliters per hour. Excuse me. So that's your flow rate. So your flow rate, usually FR, is equal to 104 milliliters per hour. Now, Part 2, recalculate the adjusted flow rate in milliliters per hour. What does that mean? Well, we go back 2 hours later, okay? 2 hours later, 250 milliliters has already been infused into the patient. Well, we started with 1,250 milliliters, and they're saying in 2 hours that 250 has already been infused into them. So let's subtract that, and we're left with 1,000 milliliters. So now our new volume is 1,000 milliliters. What would be our new time? We started out with 12 hours, but it says 2 hours later. So 12 minus 2 equals 10 hours. So to find our new flow rate, we have to take our new volume, 1,000 milliliters, excuse me, and divide it by our new time, which is 10 hours, which gives us 100 milliliters per hour. Sorry. Let's see if we have any time to complete the next one. I'm actually down to 1 minute, so I'm going to do a second video to finish these problems.